What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for turning to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Steven Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report on this, the first day of West Virginia week. We heard from Pat Narduzzi today for his first press conference of the week. So on this video, we're going to follow kind of a similar script and wrap up some of those lingering things from the Cincinnati game and then move on to the backyard brawl in West Virginia. So let's start there. Let's start with some leftovers from Cincinnati. Obviously, Phil Dracovic was the story of the night. So what did Narduzzi see on film? What did he see from his starting quarterback in his first real test of the year? Well, he wants Phil to get the ball out a little bit more quickly, and he wants him to maybe target Gavin Bartholomew a little bit more. But even more than that, he highlighted protection issues. He said offensive coordinator Frank Signetti identified 25 pass protection issues on 44 dropbacks. He said, when you're hit 21 times, you're going to struggle. That's a direct quote. Apparently, that's how many times Dracovic was knocked down. He also didn't directly address Drakovic's comments about fans booing him and the response that I'm sure everyone has seen, calling fans pathetic for booing him at Acrisure Stadium during that game. I don't think that some of these critiques that Narduzzi had, saying that he got pressured and that guys like Bartholomew, they got to get open more if they want to get targeted more. I don't think all of these are completely off base. Even you can talk about thinking about the offensive line. BJ Williams stepping in there, that's a tough job for him to try to manage. And then even Blake Suvovic wasn't very good. Had a couple false starts on the same drive and some missed blocks at key moments that were really tough. And it was all around the offensive line, not just those two, but there were obviously some issues even facing a good defensive line. And Bartholomew isn't a perfect player. I thought he could have done a little bit more as well. But I don't know. It was hard to watch that game and not think that Dracovic deserved a little bit more of that blame. And I got to tell you, this is something that I think Narduzzi has done quite a bit when his quarterbacks have struggled, especially over the past couple of years. Something I've noticed he's made a habit of doing in press conferences, really defending them to a point that I don't think is necessary, and a point that makes you question what he is seeing and what he truly believes about what he's seeing on film. I covered Pitt football sparingly during the Pickett era. I was a student working for the Pitt News, the student newspaper at Pitt, and I mostly did basketball. I covered the men's basketball team a lot. Didn't do a whole lot of football. So last year with Slovis at quarterback was my first full year on the beat, and it's really striking going from last year to this year how similar Narduzzi's comments about the quarterback play are. It's defensive, it deflects blame from the quarterbacks, and it puts it on other parts of the team. We heard a lot about Phil's toughness and his leadership qualities throughout the spring of the summer, and those traits just have not shown up yet, especially when things got tough. Phil himself hasn't shown those, but I think one of the ways that you can demonstrate trust in a guy like Phil, who you think is a leader, and demonstrate trust in a way that makes everyone around him and the people who are outside of your program believe that he is the leader that you say he is to be critical of him, and to trust that he is not going to fold in the face of criticism, that you can be a little bit tough on him and that you don't have to handle him with kid gloves. But like we talked about with Slovis last year, Narduzzi's handling Phil and to some extent the rest of the team with delicate hands right now, with the kid gloves a little bit. And this seemed to be a theme, especially this week, is Narduzzi trying to protect his guys in the wake of a big loss, or a disappointing loss. He had small coaching points, but he wasn't overly critical of this team, even when, even in the face of a really disappointing loss and some really disappointing play. And you just felt like they left so much on the field, and Narduzzi was still, you know, he's not going to talk like the sky is falling down, but you expected him to be at least a little bit more critical, especially the way this was kind of a top to bottom comprehensive loss in a lot of ways. In the same way that a lot of wins are team wins, a lot of losses are team losses. I think this is probably just trying to keep some negativity out and maintain confidence and momentum and some positivity heading into West Virginia. There's going to be plenty of negativity flying around outside the facility, so I can understand why he would want to keep it positive internally, but it's just interesting. And I don't know how much handling Slovis with, like I said, delicate hands and being supportive constantly kind of through thick and thin, which it was a lot more thick than thin. Like, it was, I don't know how much that helped. the team? How much did it help Slovis? How much did it help anyone get an accurate picture of what this team believed and what the coaching staff believed and what was actually going on? I don't think that helped too much. And so you just wonder about employing that strategy again, and you wonder about, okay, he said these things about Slovis and he said these things about the team last year. And then there were clearly differences in how the team played with Slovis at quarterback and without. I think you saw that in the Sun Bowl most obviously. But and I think even to an extent the second half of the Tennessee game, even when they were, they blew a 10-point lead, but they hung around with a team that definitely got stronger as the game went on. And, Nick Patty was hampered by an injury, by an ankle, a really critical ankle injury, but they still hung around. Like, I don't know. I'm not calling for a quarterback change, but it's just there are some striking similarities to what we saw last year and the reaction. The quarterback play between both years, there are striking similarities there. And then the reaction to that quarterback play is also very similar as well. So that's just, kind of wrapping up Cincinnati. Those were the big things that he hit on. There's some other stuff about the defensive line and the run defense, but we'll get to that right now. Moving on to West Virginia and getting into this week more detailed. But it should be an exciting game down in Morgantown. The line right now is probably smaller than I think what I would have guessed or what others would have guessed at the beginning of the season. It's just about 1.5 points in Pitt's favor, but obviously last week's result is going to color that quite a bit. I'm excited to be down there. I'll be covering that game in person. Couldn't be more excited for that opportunity. Just my second trip down to Morgantown. I did a basketball game down there my senior year of college. That was a couple years ago, or actually that was that was my senior year. Yeah. Because Femi Olakale was blowing kisses to the West Virginia student section after his first bucket. It was a good time. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. Should be a great atmosphere. Win, lose, or draw for either team. Everyone's gonna be fired up, and that's gonna be a great one. It seems like two desperate teams, quite honestly. And I know West Virginia won last week, but they've got a coach whose back is against the wall, and for whatever you think about Neil Brown, I don't think he's going to have players who quit on him. Like, that guy can still recruit, which I think is the most interesting part of this is, like, clearly there are still players who believe in him. Like, he gets his guys to believe in him. So they'll be playing with some fire. Obviously, Pitt will be desperate and playing with some fire as well, hoping to right the ship after an early season loss and head into ACC play with some momentum. But if you look at this team on paper, at both teams on paper, and this is something Narduzzi highlighted today as well, but this is going to be decided in the trenches, and Pitt's really going to be challenged up front because, we've talked about some of Pitt's struggles on both sides of the line. Getting to that run defense we talked about, they were gashed by Cincinnati. Narduzzi said it was really small stuff, just one or two guys not doing their job, some guys over communicating and just, not focusing on the things that they're supposed to. But West Virginia's got a great offensive line. They've got a powerful running back in C.J. Donaldson. They've got the ability to take advantage of what, let's face it, was a pretty porous run defense, particularly in the first half. I know they got better as the game went on, but even late in that game, Pitt gave up some big runs after being pretty dominant throughout most of the second half. So, for a West Virginia team that was even able to run on a really stout Penn State offensive line, this is significant. This is a way that they can take advantage of this game, really control the clock, and make Pitt bleed and really make this their kind of game. That can certainly be possible. And then you look at Pitt's offensive line, and West Virginia has a lot of talent on the defensive line too. They could take advantage of something that Pitt's been weak in as well. When we talk about pass protection, like I said, I don't think Pat Narduzzi was completely off base in his evaluation of Jurkovec and saying that he was pressured quite a bit. You got B.J. Williams in there making his first start. Narduzzi expects him to get better, but they're exploring some options with Ryan Baer possibly being able to step in there. They don't want to overwhelm him because he's primarily a tackle, so maybe moving him to guard isn't in the best interest for his long-term development and in the short-term play of this team. So looks like B.J. Williams, going to be in there again. He's still a young guy, second start. You assume some improvements, but still that's a guy you can maybe take advantage of. And even Wofford was able to take advantage of that middle of the offensive line, and West Virginia is obviously much more talented than that. So, the offensive line is something to watch as well. Pitt can really, fall victim to what West Virginia has up front, unless they are able to fix some things and play with a little more force down in Morgantown. So, those are the things we're kind of keeping tabs on, and we'll explore a little bit deeper. We'll learn a little bit more about the Mountaineers as we talk to some players and coaches throughout the week, and then we'll obviously get a chance to look in at practice tomorrow as well for Pitt. But like I said, we'll keep tabs on all these things and all the other news you need as Pitt prepares for the 106th Backyard Brawl down in Morgantown, the return game. The first one they played down in Morgantown, I believe, in at least 12 years, probably 13 years. I think 12 years, actually. First game in Morgantown in 12 years. So we'll get you ready for that one all week. Make sure to stay tuned with us. With that, I'm headed out of here. Thanks for tuning into another Inside Pitt Practice Report. Like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers. And like I said, find all of our reporting right from Pitt practices at InsideThePanthers.com as we get you ready for the Backyard Brawl. Thanks for tuning in again. Until next time, see